All right, picture this. You're standing at the absolute edge of a towering mountain peak. For 10 solid years, you've let the sun warm your face. But today, the wind howling up from the valley below carries absolutely no scent of life. It is visibly, bone-chillingly freezing. This is the exact moment our watchman steps away from the predictable comfort of that sun. His descent is officially beginning.
And you can literally feel the visceral, physical shock of this descent. The moment the watchman leaves his sun-soaked peak, this thick, blue-tinged valley fog just swallows his boots. We're talking jagged shards of ice clinging to the black rock like frozen teeth. The air gets incredibly thin, and this piercing chill directly strikes his spirit. He's stepping down into an absolute frozen silence.
So, let's jump right into Act 1, The Mirror on the Mountain, and take a look at the Watchman's old life.
Okay, let's dive into this. For a whole decade, the watchman was just a passive receiver of the mountain's light. He was basically a god of routine. He genuinely believed his praise gave the sun its purpose, completely relying on that external approval to feel valid. He thought he'd found enlightenment up there in his isolation, but as we see, it was really just a sixth solitude, basically a long golden distraction. He hadn't actually found ultimate truth at all. He'd merely swapped out the noisy demands of human society for the comforting noise of his own holy hymns. His old life, it was really just a refined addiction to external light and the quiet approval of his own reflections. He actually compares his old mountain sanctuary to the gardens of Armida, a place of immense comfort, sure, but ultimately a total illusion. It's the illusion of being right. But as he steps off that peak onto the jagged rock, it hits him. The truth he's seeking is actually as harsh and uncaring as the indifferent stone right beneath his feet. All his most sacred ideals, his comforting daily routines, they were just colorful rags hiding a terrifying emptiness.
Which brings us to Act 2, Into the Biting Cold. This is the literal threshold he has to cross.
He is walking directly into what's known as the seventh solitude. Now, this isn't just regular loneliness. It is a strictly necessary, icy stage of spiritual recovery. It's a profound isolation where even your most sacred, closely held ideals are entirely stripped away. And passing through this absolute unforgiving cold is literally the only way for a strong soul to heal. To heal from what exactly? From the sickness of needing a higher purpose, the sickness of needing a map or needing a tribe to tell you you're okay. This part of the descent is intensely physical. The fog swallows his boots, completely unanchoring him from the world he knew. A piercing chill strikes his spirit as he becomes truly homeless. But then, and this is key, right there in the freezing air, the heavy weight of his old habits just dissolves into the thin air of autonomy. He becomes a convalescent of the spirit. Standing in this absolute cold, where his old self literally freezes away, he finally stops being a mirror. Deep inside, a new, self-willed heat begins to smolder. And that sets up Act 3, Clash at the Icy Gate. Two vastly different worldviews are about to violently collide.
Picture this graphic novel-style scene. The watchman encounters a gardener on the path. The gardener is wrapped up in these thick, woolly layers smelling of damp earth, shivering frantically, desperately trying to shield a tiny patch of moss from the howling wind. And standing over him is the watchman. He's holding a heavy iron lamp that is totally cold and dark, but the watchman isn't shivering at all. Amidst all that swirling ice, he stands perfectly still, possessing this terrifying inner peace.
The gardener points at the dead lamp in absolute horror. He says, "Where is your light? Are you now a bringer of darkness? Do you not fear the abyss that opens where the light ends?" The gardener here represents the herd, the traditional world that survives entirely on external validation and routine. He is absolutely terrified of the dark because his comfort comes strictly from the predictable rising and setting of the sun. His words are just the frantic echoes of those who fear the silence of the seventh gate. And the watchman replies with a voice that is flat and resonant, like stone striking stone. He says, "I have broken the leash." He openly admits he used to be a slave to the dawn, using the morning light just to hide from the abyss. But now, he completely rejects the well-done of a higher power. He no longer praises the sun for shining, he praises the eye that can endure the dark. Well, the gardener just cannot handle this. "You speak like an arsonist of hope," he shouts, clutching his chest. "We need the warmth. We need to believe the mountain cares for our roots." You see, the gardener drastically mistakes his own reliance for a form of piety. He desperately clings to the idea that the mountain's blind natural cycles actually care for his little roots.
He literally needs the illusion of a caring universe just to survive the cold. So the crucial point is how the Watchman explains why his lamp is dark. He simply says, "I carry the winter. I have found my home in the seventh solitude." To carry a true fire, one must first endure the death of all old consolations. He isn't looking for the sun anymore. His home is made of ice now. He's explaining to this trembling gardener that you must purposefully say yes to the ice of the seventh gate. You have to endure the death of all your old consolations if you ever want to carry a fire that is truly your own.
Moving right along to Act 4, the self-made torch.
Here's the massive metaphorical pivot. The Watchman's spirit used to be the mirror. It was just a passive receiver of the star's overflow, operating entirely on borrowed light, comfortably bound by blind, natural cycles. But sheer necessity and survival in that freezing threshold, it forged him into the torch. He is now an active creator. His light is a self-willed fire that burns strictly from within. It requires absolutely no heaven, no external validation, and zero sun to justify its steps.
Finally, Act 5, igniting the valley.
As you'll see, he didn't walk down into the valley to find warmth. Not at all. He walked down to bring the cold, hard clarity of a man who has conquered himself. He absolutely refuses to play by the old rules. He refuses to be a shepherd leading a blind flock, and he refuses to be a gravedigger speaking to dead souls. Instead, his actions are completely incendiary. He actively seeks out the lonely and the eccentric. He passes out his self-made fire to help them ignite their own new suns. By choosing the flame over the mirror, he embraces this joyful madness that the traditional herd can only interpret as terrifying arson.
Because his ultimate goal? Creating incendiaries, not followers. He treats the old sun, meaning the old moral systems, not as some comforting promise, but as a challenge. He's down there fostering ultimate independence in the valley. The formerly reliable comfort of the sun is now thrown completely into question by the autonomous, self-willing light of the individual.
Now, let's look at a meta-analysis, the aphoristic rhythm, because the way this philosophy is written directly mirrors the philosophy itself. If we break it down, this specific text relies on a really punchy 5-sentence structure. It starts with the setup of the old moral system, then the turn into the freezing seventh solitude. Next is the strip down, where those external illusions are removed. Then, the forge, where self-willed strength is built right there in the cold. And finally, the strike, the punchy, autonomous conclusion. This rhythmic structure directly mimics the aphoristic style of Friedrich Nietzsche's The Gay Science. The independent, self-contained form of the writing perfectly matches the independent, self-willed message of the Watchman. Which leaves us with this final, striking question for our explainer today. As you navigate your own routines and seek out your own truths, ask yourself, are you simply mirroring the sun, relying on the warmth and approval of others? Or are you willing to endure the biting cold of the seventh solitude to finally forge your own fire?